The following teacher development program is brought to you by the MultiChoice Africa Foundation.
The trip to the zoo is next week, Mr. Koza. It has to be finalized now. No. Yeah, but I have to book whichever bus service you guys decide on. No, I can't wait for your suggestions any longer. Now, goodbye.
And?
You know, the time it takes these teachers to plan a simple trip to the zoo, I could have taken the kids overseas.
Need some help?
No. Actually, yes. You're such a pal.
And a math literate one. What can I do?
Well, we have to calculate the distance from the school to the zoo, then compare the rates from the various companies.
Sounds simple. Come, let's go. Okay, I'll give you the distances from school to the zoo. From the school to the highway, that's 15 kilometers.
15.
And then 30 kilometers to the turnoff, plus 18 kilometers from there to the zoo. That gives us 63 kilometers.
63 kilometers in total. So we can compare the rates from different companies in a table.
Why the table?
Because it makes comparison much easier and information more accessible. Okay, look at these faxes and just read out the rates to me. Okay, 4 companies quoted me, so I need 5 columns. Okay. Okay, let's fill the headings in. And here, I'll put the criteria we judge them on. Each of these companies has a minimum cost, but then again, they give us 3 kilometers. Then there's distance away.
What's distance away?
Well, the companies start counting your kilometers from the moment the bus leaves the depot, so their distance away from us is quite important. Once we've used up all the 3 kilometers, then they start charging a rate per kilometer. Okay, now give me the different rates.
Can't I ride for a change?
Yeah, hang on.
Well, Spirit Transport charges a minimum of 950. Versus buses, 1,200 rands. Then GHL charges 1,900 rand. Tutani, 1,550 rand. 8 rands for 2 ton.
That's it. Now, to make sense of all this, we must do a few sums.
Okay.
Okay. Let's start with Speedy's transport. What you do is write 2 times 63 plus 35 minus 100.
No, please don't give me numbers. Tell me why.
Okay. You add 63 kilometers, that's the distance the school is from the zoo, to the distance the company is from the school, because they start charging the moment the bus leaves the depot. In Speedy's case, 35 kilometers from us.
And?
Well, then you multiply by 2, because we have to come back to the school, obviously, and the bus has to go back to the company, so that's a return trip.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Now it's getting clearer. We're gonna feel that.
Yeah, I'm impressed. That's the right way of writing it. Now put it in a new table.
For a quick access, I've got it. I've got it. Yeah.
Then you minus 100, because Speedy's transport gives us 100 free kilometers. And okay, the answer would be, it's 96 kilometers.
96 kilometers. Okay, these are the kilometers, 96 kilometers. So we have to pay for 96. So 10 rands per kilometer. So we multiply 10 rands by 96. And that gives us 960 rands.
Okay, now add that to the minimum cost these guys charge you, which is 950. That is 1,910.
That's it. Yeah, this has been a lot of work. So if we want to go somewhere else, we have to do this all over again.
Well, not if we had a graph. Well, the learners can make one for us in their math literacy class. Mrs. Khawle has been teaching this in her math literacy class at Residential High School.
Mrs. Weslina Kaula is teaching a lesson on the mathematics of a school trip. First, she asked the learners to come up with all the things you would need to think of when planning a school trip.
Okay, I think we must check the distance and compare the prices and how much we're going to pay for the buses.
How much each learner is going to pay for the entrance.
We must check the number of learners that are going to go to the place.
I think the time. What time do you want to get there?
Right.
Weslina points out that for most of the preparations that you have to do to plan a school trip, you have to use maths literacy.
I'd like us to concentrate on things that has the mathematical implication. In other words, where the numbers are also involved.
The distance.
You're saying the distance?
I think it will be the amount of transport.
The amount, it means we're going to use the amount. And what else? Where the mathematical implication is involved.
Time that are we going to and when are we going to return?
The entrance fee.
The learners compare the entrance fees for two possible places to visit.
A zoo or an archaeological site. So we'd like you to calculate the total costs for the zoo as well as for the archaeological site. Find out which trip will have the cheapest entry fees. Now, I'd like to know how much is the school going to pay for the archaeological site? Okay?
Okay, on the archaeological site, learners are equals to 115, and the teachers are 3, and then the buses are 2, and there is no charge for the buses to pay. And learners plus teachers is equals to 118, and 118 multiplied by 20 is equals to 2,360.
You said you have multiplied number of people by 20. Why have you chose to multiply by 20?
Yeah, people there who are more than 100 will pay 20 rand.
Now we need to calculate the total cost for the zoo.
Ma'am, firstly, we multiply 24 rands is for the adults, and we have 3 adults, which is the teachers, ma'am. So we multiply 3 with 24 rands. For our learners, is 9 rand for a group. We have 115 learners. We're going to say 115 learners multiplied by 9. And then after that, for packing, we have 2 buses. For packing for 1 bus, it takes us 35 rands. So for 2 buses, it's going to give us 70 rands. So the total amount is 1,177, ma'am.
Why didn't you choose to multiply by 16 for the learners?
Because when you're going alone, you're going to pay 16 rand, and then we are going there as learners, and learners is 9 rand for a group each.
We have the total costs for the 2 trips. And which one will you recommend?
I will recommend the zoo because as it is much less expensive, and the archaeological site is much more expensive.
You have
Next, Weslina asked the learners to draw some graphs that will help them to instantaneously compare 4 different bus companies and their rates. First, the learners have to write an equation for the cost of hiring a bus if they travel a distance shorter than the free kilometers offered.
Company 1, the minimum cost is equals to 950. If you have to travel a distance equal to 100 kilometers or less for 10 rand per kilometer. How much are they going to charge us if we have to travel 60 kilometers?
950, ma'am.
Why?
Because 60 kilometers is less than 100 kilometers, and the company charges 950 for 100 kilometers and less.
If X is less than 100, our Y will be equals to 950.
Now the learners have to draw their findings on a graph, since the company will only charge a minimum cost if you travel less than the free distance. This part of the graph should be a horizontal line at the minimum cost.
The most difficult part is to understand that each bus company has a fixed rate up until a certain distance. So it doesn't matter how many kilometers you travel, as long as those kilometers are less than their fixed amount, their minimum distance, then this charge is going to be the same for the outing.
The learners show their results on the board.
The kilometer is 100. 950.
This one is a straight line because for so many kilometers, the amount is still the same. For 400 kilometers, the amount, which is 950, will stay the same.
Next, the learners draw up an equation if they travel more than the free distance on the day.
We have this equation. If Y is greater than 100, then the equation for Y will be 10, which is 10 rand per kilometer, it's company number 1, into X. What is that X? The distance that are going to travel. And we're going to subtract 100 because it's a free distance. And don't forget, every time we need to add the minimum cost.
The learners plot their results on the graph. This part of each graph is a straight line at an angle to the horizontal axis. The learners should notice that the line graphs have different gradients and that they cross each other at different points. This means that if one company was cheaper over a certain distance, it may not be if you travel further.
The graphs all eventually slope up to the right-hand side. So the line of graph that is on top, sloping up to the right, is the more expensive.
And now I'd like you to check, especially from the graph.
Weslina asks the learners about traveling various distances and which bus company they would choose for each of these school trips.
Company 1.
So at least we have calculated or we have drawn the graph for different companies. So if you have to use one of the companies, you can easily go into your graph and check how much you are going to pay.
Today's lessons was very different from other lessons. I learned about graphs and the importance of going on a school trip or any other trip A graph can help me compare prices and cost and the distances like today's lessons. We compared the prices from 4 different companies and the distance that we are going to take.
Wait a minute. We can stop right there. This guy is only 10 kilometers away from us and is giving us 153 kilometers.
No jumping to conclusions. Yes, he's giving us more kilometers than we need. Give me that chalk. That's what you do.
How can you just cross that out?
Well, my answer is less than 0, so there's no charge for kilometers. We can't pay less than the minimum charge, so let's just get cracking with the others.
Okay.
So it's definitely this one, Vusi's buses. They're the most cost-effective. Now we're done.
You know, working out the cost for a trip reminds me of going on holiday. I could do with a safari or something.
We spoke to Anne Lawrence of Sakabula Safaris and Tours to find out how maths literacy is used in the world of travel and tourism.
I'm mainly a tour operator, and that entails working out programs for them that we think they would like to see. And the most tricky thing at the moment is actually working out the costs. Part of the calculations is actually obviously also seeing which hotels they want. Do they want 3-star, 4-star, 5-star? Are they budget? Unfortunately, a lot of people want 5-star accommodation at 3-star prices. We would look at the type of itinerary. What have they requested? Let's take a typical itinerary. They want a day in Johannesburg, 2 days in the Kruger Park, 2 days Sun City and 2 days Cape Town. So we have a form which we've drawn up for ourselves. We would write down the hotels and the other services that they require. Do we require a vehicle? How many kilometers is it? And let's say that on day 1 they're going to do just a transfer, it's 50 kilometers. Let's say 50, and the next day they're going to do 150 kilometers, and then it's approximately 480 kilometers to the Kruger Park. But then I have to remember that once they get in the Kruger Park, they're not going to sit, they're going to drive around, and that's going to take maybe another 200 kilometers. And then at the end, I will do a total. How many kilometers is this? 50 plus 150 plus 480 plus 200 equals. So that's 880 kilometers that they've done. I would then see, well, what is the price of petrol at the moment and how much money do they need to take with them? And that would go as part of the budget of the tour. In order to work out the distance, you would say, all right, the scale of this map is, let's say that 10 centimeters is equal to, say, about 100 kilometers. That distance from there to there is roughly so much, and I'm going to multiply this 6 on here by whatever the scale is. And let's say the scale is 100, that's 600 kilometers. And then I'll know, okay, that distance is 600 kilometers, which I'll put down as part of my calculation. I'm very excited about this idea of maths literacy because I think when I was at school 5,000 years ago, it was a big mathematics subject that was quite frightening. And I think my teachers were frightening also. But this puts it in a real context. It's something that everybody can reach. It makes sense. It's fun. And I think that all learning has to be fun.
were doing the research task.
And you were getting bored.
Yeah.